Josh Abrams' Alabama Audit Rampage tour continues. Josh Accountability for All Abrams continued his First Amendment rampage through Alabama on Tuesday, accompanied by Harvey Freebird and an auditor only known as the Random Patriot. The trio started their afternoon by stopping in an unnamed town where Abrams fans were delighted by the camera focusing on his cleavage as he walked what he portrayed as a huge distance to the first town hall on his attack list for the day. Once inside, the trio proceeded to terrorize the female court clerk and a second female worker in the building, insulting and degrading both women's jobs while briskly walking through the tiny building and into a meeting room at the end of the hall. Eventually, Abrams singled out the second woman, who was working the front counter of the building. When she refused to answer his questions, he asked why, and she said she wasn't comfortable with the way the trio were behaving and having a camera shoved in her face. Abrams went into a long-winded, insulting tirade, mansplaining to the woman that the trio's cameras weren't in her face because he stood an arm's length away from her. He then aggressively commented that if she were to call the police on the trio, they would essentially come in with guns blazing to murder them because of her description. Later, Abrams would insult the court clerk, looking into her office and providing the summation that her office was large, but that's an awful big desk to not do a lot of work. The trio, now streaming on Freebird's channel, would later go live from the Huntsville, Alabama City Hall, which also contained the police headquarters. Huntsville recently made news after a grand jury suggested shutting down its police force after multiple indictments of police officers following the overdose death of a police dispatcher. 5 Huntsville police officers, including the police chief and the wife of an officer, were all indicted on multiple charges by the grand jury. The charges involved distribution of drugs from the evidence room, tampering with evidence, failure to report crimes by officers, using their offices for personal gain, and conspiracy. As of February 20th, 2025, the Cullman County Sheriff's Office took over police duties for the town of Huntsville. Knowing this, the trio entered the area of the building containing the police department and walked past the reception area, seeking to gain access to the evidence locker. When they came to an area that was off limits to the public, Freebird went to an open reception window and demanded a menu of drugs from the woman working the window. As the woman took a phone call, Freebird continued to demand goodies from the woman and threw a $20 bill down in front of her, demanding service before picking it up and continuing his rant about drugs. The woman, showing fear, closed her window and pulled down the blinds, apparently calling the sheriff's department for help. Once the sheriff's department arrived, Abrams attempted to control the actions of the responding members of the department by making statements about what happened between the woman and Freebird, defending Freebird's supposed innocence. The members of the sheriff's department made a brief investigation and determined that no charges were to be pressed. At this point, Freebird demanded that the woman be prosecuted for abusing the 911 system. When no charges were filed, Freebird exchanged insults with a man working for the city government. That man became Freebird's focal point for the rest of the video as the man took over the reception window. Freebird continued to attempt to provoke him for the rest of the video. At multiple points, Freebird demanded to make a FOIA request and was directed to go to the courthouse, which apparently handles such requests. Freebird then demanded the man give him the information he was seeking verbally, which the man refused to do. Eventually, Freebird gave up and wandered outside to meet Abrams and the Random Patriot in the parking lot. The three split up to return to their car, and the video stream ended. The trio are expected to live stream again from Alabama later today.